Okay, good morning, everyone. This is the February 4th, 2026 meeting of the Planning Resource and Development Committee. Everyone on the committee is present. Supervisor Morehouse is present remotely, except for Supervisor Kinnear, who is excused for the day. So we do have a quorum. Let's begin with approval of the minutes from January 21st. Could I have a motion? For Bjork? Here. Any questions or corrections? Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, the minutes are approved. Do we have any public comments today? We have none that came in, and no one here in the room is here for public comments on either item. So we have no public, so we'll move on to 6. We have no public hearing. 7, staff reports, comprehensive plan review, structure related to goals, objectives, policies, and strategies. Tammy.
Good morning. I gotta share my computer quick. Okay, we're doing comprehensive plan first. I guess just overall, I don't know if there's a general reaction on the information that was included in the packet. Rewinding the clock back to December. If you remember, I, did my New Year's resolution kind of revamp concept proposal for making these more readable, user-friendly. So I expanded that concept into what would have been the housing element, or what was, what we had drafted for the housing element. And I took one portion of the transportation element and outlined that similar structure based on 2 different formats that we were using. So, I mean, I can certainly go through this in greater detail, but I don't know if there was just a general discussion reaction on a portion of this right now.
May I, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Tammy, great. It's so much better. It's so much more approachable. It's so much more clear. I mean, probably some tweaks could be made, but really a good job. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts in general about the format and the? I mean, I think I see nods around the table, and I know that Supervisor Kinnear told me that he thought it was a good changes, and I agree. So, good job.
Thanks.
Great job.
Is it fair just to continue this approach with the committee, looking for direction, like have like a subgroup to meet with me if we need to refine anything? I don't know if there's any.
I don't know. What are the thoughts of the committee? Proceed the way we're going, but ask staff to use this format. Do we need a intermediary step in there at this point in time? What would your plan be, Tammy, for going forward then?
If this is the direction that, that seems, we would just revamp then the existing draft GOPS that we've done for the other sections of the plan. And then once we put our final pieces together, or again, the preliminary draft for everyone to review would be in this new format. And again, if the committee wanted to have a check-in to see what it looks like again before we get too far along in rewriting everything. But again, if the general directions this is working, then we'll just continue just to redo it then.
Yeah, I don't want to. Well, my thoughts are that I like the format, but it is going to require you to make some decisions about where to plug things in and how to describe it. So I don't know if we need a separate committee, but could you could you work on a section and bring it back and have us look at it maybe, or?
Sure.
Before we do a final.
Sure.
Is that okay with the committee? I know
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Diane.
Um, again, I don't know if we need a separate committee, but I do think the thing that we should think about is some prioritization, which is, I think the job of the committee. So, maybe having some additional, an additional look at, or, I would be happy to work on it with you as well, but just, to make sure that we're comfortable with the way, with the order of things and the way things are laid out and so on. But, as I say, this is it's so much better.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that makes sense,
Okay.
to think about prioritization. I wanted to add that I really like the side-by-side comparison. That's helpful to sort of see how it distills down. So if the next draft could contain that as well, I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so similar to like all the other elements that we've drafted so far, kind of do that comparison to what was initially outlined to this new format?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Um, well, okay, so we have a suggestion that we have a small group. I guess it would have to be no more than 2 people to avoid um, the quorum questions. So Diane has volunteered. We have another volunteer?
Sure, I could work with Diane
Okay.
on that.
All right, then let's do that. Let's have 2 committee members arrange to work with you to review the next draft before it's brought back to the committee.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay. Let's see, what's next year? Anything else on comprehensive plan review? I don't think so. No. Okay. Public maintenance program.
So back again, as we reflect back in 2025, as I'm part of the budget workshop, the POUTS maintenance or POUTS program under the zoning division was flagged as an opportunity to reduce expenses or generate additional revenue. So in this report, it just outlines summarized, what was shared previously about, the POUTS program being a state mandate. And under that state mandate, we are required to have a maintenance program. So, which includes all systems, septic systems are inventoried, and then we work with the property owners to notify them of maintenance activities. And that process, kind of got solidified by the state having this requirement by 2019. And Dunn County has been sending letters out to property owners, but our systems are still, and the inventory is getting better. We've noticed with the change in software that systems got lost, they got classified wrong. So it's always a continuous improvement of identifying and actually knowing where all of our systems are at. Overall, the county has been committed to doing this notification to property owners. And, just outlined in here, and again, just using our numbers, based on the best data we have available, we have around that, just shy of 11,000 private septic systems in Dunn County. And with them, that covering about, 55 to 60% of our population. So, breaking down expenses, from the county standpoint, if I assigned 1.5 FTE staffing to that, the current financial, snapshot based on, using 2024 numbers, I did not update this data based on 2025. But overall, our cost recovery for that PELTS program is around 53%. You know, we did raise our fees that were going to go in effect now this year. But I guess the question to the committee is, do we want to continue to look at additional revenue for that PELTS program and take it, you know, further off the tax levy?
Okay, it's a great summary. Anybody have any questions or comments? Carrie?
So is that every like 3 years that they get notified?
That's correct. Yep.
And there's no fine if they don't call back or don't get it taken care of?
That will be the next step of our process. So they're going to, they will start receiving delinquent notices and follow through. So up to this point, we have not followed up with any delinquent notices. Simply because our systems, our software system hasn't given us that capability, you know, to easily track them. You know, so thankfully Dunn County did invest in a really good software program, and we're getting closer to being able to do that delinquent. But yeah, so that's a portion that has not occurred yet.
Okay.
Anything else? So the 146,759 is, that's primarily staff time, right?
Correct. Yep.
And then on top of that, you note that the county does sort of subsidize some of the broader administrative costs and some of the logistical costs as well.
That is
So
correct.
that covers our staff pretty much. Anything else? This was a good summary. Thanks.
So yeah, in front of the committee would be that direction. If we wanted to go to a long-term, you know, what I call a long-term maintenance recovery program or process, it would take us some time to get that established. It, you know, just an initial administration, I would say really 2026 would require us to really fine tune and make sure we have our data set ready to go. We would have to work with the townships and or the treasurer office on that assessment, you know, what approach would be best. I'm likely to say that, you know, special assessment on the tax bill would be the most appropriate approach. But with the revenue would not enter the county until probably 2028, 2029. And again, this is just rough cost projections. I included a comparison, you know, in the packet here. This is just a snapshot of the state of Wisconsin and what other counties are doing in comparison to our neighbors.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes.
I understand the concept of a fee structure, but given all the work involved, I just have some questions like how can you estimate how much staff time implementing a fee structure like this would take? And you know, we're already sort of overworked in the process, so I'm concerned about how much time this would take.
I would agree. I would think that the next couple years would be pretty stressful to get to that point with staff, just to make sure we have confidence in what we're doing, and then the coordination of it to tease out, you know, let's just say 11,000 systems in the county and figure
know,
out
it's a lot.
the taxing on that would be a process. And it's not just our division, it's going to ask, you know, help from other departments too
Right.
and other entities. So I think that would be the first few years, it's gonna, you know, probably be a wash for the county, and that, you know, $50,000, you know, revenue that we'd be bringing in would also be ate up by staffing to try to get to that point. So it really would be 3+ years down the road before I think we have a confidence in what we're doing.
And perhaps at the expense of some other important priorities and work to be done, right?
Yeah, I think as the county decides operational planning, this would be a component that could just, would feed into it. Yep.
Okay.
Great.
So what kind of fees are you looking at? You know, I mean, there's more talk that we got too much taxes and then all of a sudden we're gonna raise them. You know, I don't go along with that 100%. But, you know, if you're following the guidelines every 3 years and it's been okay, you guys have to go out there. I can see that when you first like install those systems, but why would it have to be a tax for or increase?
And that's a great question. I think that's what Dunn County, this committee would have to decide is, with, half of our population on these systems and, right now it's a half, we're recovering half of that expense, through our fees, does it make sense to add and I just outlined $5 a yearly fee. That, I think the average by other counties, I think came out to, the lowest fee was $3, the highest fee was $16.50, so the average was at just over $9 a yearly. So yes, it would be, one argue maybe $5 isn't directly noticed on a tax bill, but again, it's $5 that would have to be followed through and supported.
So I think that's a good question. And I thought about that too, Gary, but, and the question is, we do need to develop this system no matter what, right? And we do need to implement and monitor these wells no matter what. So that's sort of like, well, that's going to take some time. It's going to take a couple of years at least to do that, and a lot of work. But on top of that, we know that we're billing all of the taxpayers in Dunn County for that work right now. So is it reasonable to impose some kind of a fee on people who use it? And I just note that, if you live in an area where there is a sewer, you pay a sewer fee every year on your tax bill
That's
to your
true.
municipality. So everybody in Menominee, for example, is paying far more than $5 for their
Yeah.
sewage fee. And that's true for every other community, Colfax, Welk Mound, Boyceville. So it's not unreasonable to expect that something could be charged to, and their taxes are going to pay for the monitoring of the private septic system. So it's not unreasonable, I don't think, for us to at least consider during this period whether or not some kind of a tax would be appropriate. You're not asking us to approve that now or in the near future, just saying that as part of this process, we should consider some kind of a fee schedule, right?
I guess I would look for direction just based on, what I outlined, if this is the direction the county would want to go, it's going to be a couple-year process, but I would need to make sure I have the staff allocated and we start building our system now so that we're ready to go forward with collecting a fee. So if it was the direction of the committee, we need to allocate the staff time to start, evaluating the different steps to make this happen.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that in the first 2 to 3 years, it's probably going to be a wash as far as what you're bringing in versus the staff time to set it up. Maybe you answered this already, but like after that initial period, how much staff time do you think it would take to kind of maintain this?
I would hope that our system, is built, we work out the bugs that it would be just automated at that point. Naturally, we're going to have phone calls, and whether we send postcards out now. And, so right now we send about 5,000 postcards out, or it's going to be this year, it's going to be about 5,000 systems are going to get notified that maintenance is required. So with this new system process, they're going to get assessment on their taxes and they're still going to get notified. So I guess my point is that we're notifying staff or the property owners anyways. It's just going to be that difference of, landowners understanding what that assessment's require, what's it doing. I would think in a few years afterwards, it would be a wash. Or, you know, as far as like that workload, because we're gonna hopefully have yeah. We're dealing with the delinquent ones. We're doing it anyways.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is it won't be too much more on top of what you're already doing once we get this set up.
That would be correct.
And that the revenue would pretty much be, you know, about $50,000, like
Correct.
to the good, long term. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Gary?
So how do we know that these systems are working properly? I mean, you know, even though every 3 years when you go out there, send a letter out there, I can see collecting that money. But, you know, how do we know that the systems are actually working?
It's a great question. And, you know, so that's part of that maintenance notice is that they would hire a licensed plumber or pumper to do that inspection.
Okay.
And so they would inspect to see if, you know, the sludge level is at a certain, if, you know, they don't have to have the system pumped, right? So it's an education point as everyone thinks, oh, every 3 years I have to have my system pumped. But they don't. They really just need it inspected to see if it's functioned properly. So part of this effort is to also continually educate property owners on their maintenance responsibility. What does that look like? And so there are some, you know, fine nuances of, you know, what it actually means, you know, in how we've traditionally handled it versus how it actually applies to them. But I would think that they can get access to their actual system records and understand what they have and that mound in their backyard and how it functions. And, you know, and it comes to even cleaning their filters that are in the system. A lot of that's just not happening now because a lot of, you know, it's just out of sight, out of mind, and we pump it and we move on. But that's not necessarily what has to happen. It does involve more details. And maybe it would be helpful to show you guys sometime about what these systems look like and what an inspection maintenance really means.
Anyone on the committee, so you propose to move ahead with this, given our approval of it. The next steps would be what?
Well, I'm just bringing this forward because it was identified at the budget workshop.
Right.
And we were supposed to identify different revenue. And so I'm just looking for direction from the committee earlier than, I just don't want it to hit July budget time. And then I'm given this task and we're at our peak busy season. So the sooner that we know from a planning standpoint of activities that we're supposed to be doing or expectations of this committee.
Yep.
So really, it's just whether the committee wants us to continue to explore this, or if this is an absolute, yes, we need to be doing this. I'm just looking for direction.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes.
I think the return on investment to plan and launch something like this is not good. I'm pretty skeptical about whether this is worth the staff effort. It's going to engender a bunch of opposition, and for $50,000, you know, is that going to solve our budget problem? I'm really skeptical about moving forward with this. I guess I joined Gary.
Is there any way to put a cap on what the pumpers can charge you a person? You know, I mean, some could be extremely high and some could be low, you know, especially if it don't have to be pumped out.
I would say that no, we can't. I
No.
mean, we can't regulate what the pumpers and what they charge.
Yeah.
It's all timing, right? When the system gets, you know, pumped and where they can haul it to, timing of the year. So when it's educating homeowners, I think the key there is educating homeowners on what they have so that they're asking the right questions and are informed when they hire someone to do work for them.
Frank, could you clarify a little bit about what, if we don't move forward with this option, funding option, do we still have the cost of implementing the system and all of that, or is that not going to, are the costs not going to be as great?
I guess our cost to, our notification is still gonna continue.
That's good, right?
Yep, it's what we are, not putting on a tax bill, and that effort would not cost, additional time. Is that, am I
Yeah,
answering?
well, that plus do you need to, is there the whole idea of building the database and confirming it, is that something that's going to happen with or without this project?
Oh, yeah,
or-
we're gonna continue to refine our data set and making sure that we're,
We want to know that, right?
Correct,
That's
yep.
information we want to have. and
Correct,
Should
yep.
have.
It's really with the data set, if we're gonna build in a fee schedule or some type of tracking mechanism, the sooner we know that, the better, so that we build it in a workflow. Again, it's not that it can't happen, it just we have to retroactively go back and try to update those records.
It's hard to know how much additional strain we're putting on staff, but if we approve this, but it seems like until the decision is made to actually go forward with a compliance tracking and a fee, it's stuff we're going to have to do anyway. Am I wrong about that, or
Well,
are there extra?
yeah, so we're notifying no matter what, right? State mandate says that we're gonna have this 3-year program, and we are notifying property owners, and we're following up.
Right.
So the following up, the delinquent, we're not doing yet. So we're still building that. It's gonna happen no matter what, right? We're committed to doing that. The question really for the committee is, do they want to use, tax levy dollars, our staff dollars for that PELTS program to continue to fund this effort? And if they, and part of that means that we have to then work with our municipalities, our treasurer's office, to build another layer of how we're going to do that assessment. And making sure we have the 11,000 systems accurately, and confidently marked to that parcel and the tax bill.
Could you raise the bottom line there by the workload assessment? So the ordinance change would be the fee structure, correct?
Correct.
Very.
So that, $5 fee, would that be on tax money, or would that be like a separate charge for just having that system?
That's correct. It would be a special charge on their tax bill and collected as part of, the property taxes.
So it wouldn't go against a tax levy then?
Correct.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I should take a stand on this. I mean, I hear Diane's point loud and clear about how there's a lot of risk for repercussion. At the same time, like thinking about this more broadly, I think right now every committee needs to look at what we can do to make the budget situation a little bit better. $50,000 isn't a lot, but it is something. thinking about what the discussions we're having in one of my other committees, CRNT, I think that things are not looking very good there. And I'm worried about losing an extension educator or something like that, which I would find a pretty bad outcome. And when I weigh that possibility against this, I feel like this is a better route to go. I think it makes sense to at least continue talking about this.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should take the next steps to implement your research and planning process. I think it's reasonable to think that we would have a fee for this service, and it doesn't sound like it has to be a very large fee. But I think we should personally, I think we should move forward with a proposal the study and exploration that you've laid out there, and explore the possibility of a fee when the time comes. Anybody strongly opposed to that on the committee?
No.
Okay, good points raised about it, and I think a good presentation by staff. So let's go forward with the
Scoping,
review.
inventory,
Yep.
phase and present it. Okay. Thank you.
Let's see. I think we're down to number 9A, legislative agenda. So last meeting, we asked staff to make some adjustments based on our discussion. And they've done that, I think, done it very well. So now we're at the point where if we can, approve this today, modify it or approve it as is today, and forward it to the executive committee. Chase, you gonna lead us through this?
Sure, I can provide or help edit it as we go along if editing is needed. But I would welcome obviously all staff here to contribute to the conversation. Livestock sighting, the item C, that was a discussion topic at the last committee meeting, as far as details about it and direction for it. And after some conversations among staff, it's our recommendation that we remove this from the legislative agenda, and mainly due to it's a very complex topic, and to advocate for it in a way that makes sense, especially if depending on who's reading this and how you want to interpret it. The livestock sighting authority and rules and regulations around it are challenging and difficult, but I guess that's where trying to come up with language that makes sense to touch all the the hot points or the concerns is a bit difficult at this point. So I guess it's our recommendation that we remove that at this time, but I'd welcome any other comments from anyone else.
Okay, so we had a good discussion about this last time, and I think that this change, my sense is this change reflects the will of the committee. So anybody have any thoughts about removing this from our agenda? Anyone opposed to it? Okay, well, let's assume we have consensus on that and remove that. Then let's go down to The other items, I think we agreed to retain on the agenda. So down to the next items.
Yep. So then item F would be the next one. That was, this one, I believe, if I remember right, was a combination of public health and human services and some of those, and just trying to combine those into one
Right.
action item. Item G, very similar. And then item H regarding housing, economic development. There was language provided or some context provided by our economic development coordinator, Adam. And this is the draft that trying to summarize all those comments
Right.
into something that makes some
Yep.
sense.
Any questions about that? So these are all housing policy items that were identified by the Adam McCullough, the Economic Development Director, and discussed within the housing work group in the county. And I think we discussed them at the CR&T meeting also. He reported on them. So we'd be adopting those criteria into our legislative agenda. These are all fairly topical items that are either under consideration or at least being written up into bill form. Any problems with including the HA items in HA, for example? Or HB, which would allow the use of tax increment financing for housing development. Anyone opposed to putting this into our agenda? Or have considerations?
No, not at all. I think it's a great addition.
Okay, let's do it.
And yeah, the last
That
item
is a
here.
joint resolution, right?
Correct, yeah.
From Community Administration on PR&D. So the addition of B and C on here. This is something that's been in our agenda before. B is item C. Actually, our Register of Deeds, Heather, is, as we speak, in Madison today, providing testimony on this legislation in favor of it as part of their association she's a member of. So it's very timely. Anybody have objections to including supporting these two agendas items in partnership with committee administration? Okay.
That should be everything.
I think that's it, right? Then could I have a motion to approve the legislative agenda as presented?
I would, excuse me, I would move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Monica moves and Diane seconds. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The agenda is approved. Yeah, Gary.
Are these, like legislators gonna come at a certain time? Have you heard when or not, or?
I think Dan, it might be wrong, but Dan indicated at the last meeting that the new strategy was to invite them individually or to meet with he and Gary Steen, the legislative board member, and go through them in sort of more thoughtful detail. But not, I guess I think the plan was not to have a full board gathering like we had in the past. That could change. Right about that? Yep. Okay. All right. We have no other business as far as I can see. Are there any announcements anyone has? And our future meeting date is February 18th. Thanks again to the staff for the great work, as always. And we are adjourned.